of you, Josh, I decided to make a video that made me think of you. I did overcomplicated math in the summer for no reason. Disney World is known for having little hidden details everywhere throughout the parks. From the footprints of the invisible horses pulling a carriage outside of the Haunted Mansion ride, to the 2 lanterns hanging in a window in Liberty Square referencing Paul Revere's famous ride. Toy Story Land is no exception. All around Toy Story Land there are giant footprints. These are Andy's footprints. We are all the size of toys walking around Andy's backyard. An almost 20-foot Woody statue leaning against the Toy Story Land sign is what greets you when you enter the park. And this statue, along with the footprints in the ground, got me thinking, how big are Andy's feet? For this problem, I used the equation where the 2 fractions equal each other and you have to find x. Now, our x is Andy's foot size in real life. So what do we fill the other slots with? The number directly below our x is the size of the footprints in Toy Story Land. They're all 25 feet long, but for this equation we do have to use inches. I'll explain that later. So that will be 300 inches. My original thought was to use Woody himself. I already said he's greeting you as you enter the park. He's leaning up against the sign. But there's our problem. He's all bent and crooked and the cowboy swagger, oh, I'm so cool kind of thing. And just with him being all bent and crooked and not a straight line, I just couldn't figure out I just couldn't figure it out. How the bent parts would translate to actual height if you unbent them, and all this other stuff. I gave up. My next thought was just to use Woody's head, but the thing is, Woody's wearing his hat, and that kind of messes with how tall his head is. The third thing I thought of was to use the yo-yo on the sign. I thought it would be easy finding the corresponding yo-yo, but the thing is, yo-yos are all different sizes, and that's just a big rabbit hole I did not want to travel down. I thought maybe I'll come back to it if I can't find anything else. Now, traveling down the sign, I went to the letter blocks. This is something that actually worked. After a lot of research, I found out that normal letter blocks are about 1.77 inches square. I couldn't find how tall the blocks on the sign actually were, so I had to turn to pixel measurements to figure out how tall they were. The letter blocks on the sign aren't exactly straight, but that actually wasn't a problem. I just used the Pythagorean theorem and figured out how long the sides of the blocks were. Long story short, they're about 218 pixels with some change. I used the same equation, the fraction equals fraction, as the one that we will use before and after. In our newest fraction equals fraction equation, I used the yo-yo as a constant. It was helpful. For 4 feet in the real world equals about 475 pixels in the pixel world. Plugging in the 218 number from earlier, we find that the height of the letter blocks are about 1.8 feet, or a little more than 22 inches. When I first saw these numbers, I couldn't quite believe it, but looking at the sign again, the letter blocks are about half as tall as the yo-yo, yo-yo being 4 feet tall, it makes sense that they're around 2. So plugging in our final numbers from the letter blocks, our final equation looks like this. Admire it in all of its beauty. And our final number is 24.091 inches, or 2.007 feet. That's right, Andy's feet are 2 feet long. Happy birthday, Josh. You now have access to a completely useless piece of information, which you must credit me as the one who found.